Well, it's about 8 a.m. and Burn Island is quite still this morning. I'm hoping to pack up and get out of here as soon as possible and try and beat the wind. And maybe, just maybe, I'll finally make it to where I was supposed to be the first night. Well, this pile of wood has served me quite well. I didn't expect to go through a fraction of that pile of wood, but it all burns pretty quick and doesn't even create a bed of coals, so it didn't last too long. I did manage to cook my dinner on it last night, and as you can see, I'm heating up some water for breakfast right now, so I'm happy to have saved a bit of fuel. Alright, so it's morning of day 3, which is a Tuesday, and I've already had some gear failure here. You'll see that the strap here basically just snapped. First it was pulling really tight here, and I thought it was going to rip off on that end. Instead it ripped on this end. So unfortunately I'm going to have to leave it like that for now. I've just tied off the buckle on this end right here. But once I get to my next campsite, I've got some sewing thread and a needle, so I'll fix it up when I get there. Alright, so I'm pretty much packed up and ready to go, but before I do, I wanted to just show you guys what's up this hill here. Alright, so I've climbed the hill, and a little bit out of breath from that, so I apologize. But let's just walk down this trail here. Just off to our right up here, we'll find the treasure chest. But more interestingly, there's a big rock back here. So while you're sitting down to do your business, you can sit here and you can stare at this big rock and wonder how that other rock got on top. Alright, so I've just been resting at the shore here for about, I don't know, half an hour now. I got out and walked around on this campsite, explored a bit, just kind of gave my arms a break and got up and stretched. Before that I paddled about an hour and a half, maybe only an hour and 15 minutes along Burn Island. It's pretty windy today, but I just followed the shoreline, even if that meant going in bays. The one bay I was able to cross because it was pretty flat. When I came into this one, it was quite flat. That log laying in the water in front of us, that created a line, and inside this cove it was just flat as can be. And just in front of that, there was a lot of wind, and it looked like it had a shearing effect. Like as soon as I went around this corner, it would throw me back a few hundred meters. So I made the right call on stopping to take a break here, because now the wind shifted. Now that the wind has shifted here, I should be able to get around this corner much more easily. Now unfortunately, after this there's a long stretch I've got to go. It's probably 2 to 3 hours of canoeing. I'll probably take another break somewhere along the way. From there I've got a portage. It's about 800 meters into Little Otterslide, and I'm supposed to be on Otterslide proper tonight, so from there I've got a canoe through a long creek into Otterslide proper. Depending on what time I get over the portage, I may just do 2 nights on Little Otterslide, because the next night I'm reserved on Little. But I'd really like to see that creek. I'm hoping I get there in time to enjoy it and not rush it. Only one portage day. It's one of the longer ones I've done, but as long as it's flat, it shouldn't be a problem. I haven't had any troubles carrying this canoe yet. Anyways, it's about, well, it's 12:05, lunchtime. I just had some beef jerky while I rested. I don't really need a full meal, but ran out of water, so I filled up a jug and threw a tablet in there. I was too lazy to pump it. So it's gonna be about half an hour before that's drinkable. Right now I'm feeling pretty parched. That point off to my left there, originally when I was looking at that on the map, I thought it was what turned out to be this big point here. But when I came around the side of it, I saw there's no campsite. So at that point I knew it wasn't the one on the map. Alright, so I just pulled up on this shore here. It's the back side of a very small island. There's some grassy reeds growing here, and the water's just still as can be. Now if you look around behind me, you'll see I crossed a large channel. This channel is quite choppy, and it took a lot out of me. So I'm just going to rest here for a bit, even though I'm roasting in the sun. But I've got another channel to cross, so once I get across that, I can follow the shore and hopefully find a campsite to rest at for a little bit longer. Well, I was just roasting away here in the sun, so I took my hat and I just dipped it in the water and wrung it out, so that should help keep me cool. I didn't realize till I stopped that I was sweating like extensively. The wind had been just blowing it off me, and it was evaporating so quickly that I didn't even realize I was sweating. So that tells me to drink some more water and do everything I can do to stay cool. I would actually put my white t-shirt back on, which helps reflect the sun, but unfortunately that's at my bag, which is way at the front, so I'm gonna wait till I get to a better spot to do that. Anyways, I'm just about rested here, so I'm gonna try and paddle across this other little stretch and see if I can figure out where the portage is. So I've been relaxing here in this little cove for probably about an hour and a half now. Just had a little swim and a rest and enjoyed a little break from the wind. I'm almost to the portage. I've just got one last bait across, but from the looks of it, it's going to be pretty tricky. It's a big stretch of water. There's some whitecaps out there, and as you go around the bend, there's some deadheads and rocks sticking up out of the water and quite a bit of wind shear. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to walk the boat around the corner, and then once I'm past all those obstacles, I can hop in the boat and paddle off directly into the wind, and that way I don't get blown out onto the lake as I go around the corner. Well, after 6 hours at sea, I finally made it. Now I've got a 790 meter portage into Little Otterslide. A couple of groups were coming through the portage just as I was arriving. They told me it's a very long 800 meters. Not much of a hill, not too much overgrowth, but just feels very long. So this should be fun. It's now 10 to 4. We'll see how long it takes me to get through this. Alright, this should be fun. The ball of rope's gonna drive me nuts. So I can only hope that the camera's pointing the right direction at the moment, but it's definitely upside down, so I'll have to flip the video later. Now this canoe here, it's a ultralight Kevlar, 16 foot. It's 42 pounds. Oh. And that fucking hurt. Alright, so I've shortened the rope, so it's a little more manageable right now. It's actually too short. Let's not do that again. So now I'm sure the camera is crooked and my spine is officially obliterated. Actually, that didn't really hurt too much. That was just clumsy of me. Now, last time I was here, I had I think it was a 16 foot Kevlar, not the ultralight. And you wouldn't believe the difference it makes. Just 10 pounds more. Like I said, this one's 42 pounds. The other one is a mere 10 pounds more. It's about 50, 51, I think. And getting that one onto my shoulders just killed me. I found I could do the initial part of the lift, no problem. But once I went to actually put on my shoulders, I started to lose it. And it didn't help when my back and shoulders were tired from carrying my pack and all my other crap across the portage. Hang on, I'm out of breath. You'll see there's a little log bridge here. I don't have to use it because it's so dry this time of year. Definitely handy when you're out here in May though. But yeah, the other canoe, I couldn't even keep it balanced. Unfortunately, that trip I didn't think to tie a painter rope to the front. That seems to be critical to keeping it balanced. The reason why I say that is a lot of them are back heavy, and what happens is the back starts to drag down on the ground. So you have to hook your fingers and pull it down, and because it's so long, it has a weird pivoting momentum. So what can happen is you'll pull really hard and it'll start to all swing forward, and then you've got to try and brace it as it falls to the front, and you're constantly rocking it back and forth trying to get balanced. And what happens there is you end up wearing out all your muscles. You've got these groups of muscles called stabilizer muscles. Now these stabilizer muscles generally don't have the endurance of some of the bigger muscles. You can train them to be a little stronger, but for someone like myself who obviously isn't the fittest person in the world, it can really wear them out quick. So when you've got the pin rope, you can pull the front down and you can keep it positioned in the proper spot. You can also use your forearms to hold it up. The only thing that's a problem right now is holding this extra long rope is getting to wear my fingers out. So once I get to camp, I'm going to tie another short line of paracord to it. Oops, I almost stumbled there. I did that to the other side just for quickly tying it up, because when I'm canoeing, that becomes the front since I'm canoeing it in a backwards position. But this end, I've just got the long painter rope provided by the portage store. Alright, so I got to be about halfway now. And this really hasn't been bad. I usually have to stop somewhere along the way. And if you don't include my little tumble, I haven't stopped at all. Now there's a big hill coming up, and my hand's getting tired, so I'm going to attempt to swap which hand has the rope. And I lost it, shit. I'm going to try something tricky here. There's a branch sticking out. I'm going to hook the rope on that. Missed it. Come on. No! Alright, one more try. There we go. Didn't even have to stop and put down the canoe. Find that once you've got it balanced, it's really not that hard to keep it on your shoulders. Like I said, it's when you're rocking back and forth, or when you're picking it up and putting it down, that you really can wrench your back or wear out your muscles. Now this hill isn't too bad. What I'm worried about is a batch of rocks up ahead. My fingers are so cramped in my left hand from holding that rope that I can't even grip the gunwale here. So right now I've just got my hand open flat, pressed against the side of the boat, and keeping it all stable with my right hand. But yeah, right now it's actually pulling on the rope quite a bit. Every time it starts to rock, the rope pulls tight. My fingers keep it in control. That puts a lot of stress on the fingers, so I might go back to my other technique and use a shorter rope with a carabiner and clip that to my belt. That allows me to let go of it and manage it a little better. Alright, so here comes some ankle twisters. Thankfully it's quite dry today. I've done stuff like this in the pouring rain and it could be a nightmare. These portages like I was saying before, can turn into rivers, because with all the vegetation worn away, there's not much to stop water from traveling this way. So water takes the path of least resistance, wears away all that dirt and topsoil, leaves all these rocks exposed, which are easy to trip over, or they can be quite slippery during the day or during the rain. Now I'm starting to get a bit tired, but I know I'm about 2/3 of the way, and I want to do this all in one trip. I really hate having to stop and put down the canoe. Plus this one doesn't have an easy rest spot. Some of them, they'll take a big log between two trees, nail it in, and you can hook the front end up on that, get it off your shoulders for a minute, and then when you're ready to go again, you don't have to use all that energy to pick it up. Now, just like my left hand, my right hand's starting to get pretty cramped right now, so this ball of rope was not the best idea. Alright, there's a lot of rocks up ahead. So what I can do is I can slow right down here, pulling back fairly tight on this rope, which keeps not only the nose down, but it pulls the canoe back up onto my shoulders. That's one thing I found happens a lot when you don't have a rope, is the yoke will start to slide off your shoulder, and what can happen is it can start to dig in, and quite often you don't want to stop to adjust it, because once you get going, you get this mentality of not wanting to stop. And when you've got a backpack on, sometimes it'll rest on the backpack, which distributes the weight through the straps. That can be helpful. Other times it just gets tangled right up in your backpack. So if you've got a painter rope on and you pull it taut, you've got a pretty easy time keeping it on your shoulders. Now I've also got a $10 yoke pad here that I got at Mech. Probably the best $10 I ever spent. It really kind of takes the bite off the yoke. Usually, even though they try and shape them to people's shoulders, they obviously don't quite match everyone's shoulders, and you get spots that dig in. So right now my shoulders feel fine. It's just my back that's killing me. But I can keep it pretty straight, like keeping my back straight, and by keeping the back straight and locking into position, the weight's just going through my spine, and it's not going to make my back hurt anymore. Well, I can see some water peeking through the trees, so I know the end is near, but I also know the hardest stretch is coming up. There's going to be a lot of rocks here, so I don't know how much I'll be chatting through this part. It's starting to get a little bit dark. It's about 5:30 right now. Sunset's not till about 9, but you start losing a lot of the overhead light, which lights up these portages during the morning and at night. Because the sun's low in the sky, it doesn't penetrate through the trees, and for whatever reason I've got my sunglasses on right now, which is just making it even darker. We're almost there. One little bad spot left. The last 5 feet down to the water is quite the drop off, and it's a tangled web of roots and rocks. So I'm not sure what the best route to take is here. Oh, and of course it's windy on Little Otterslide. I'm shocked. Gotta be careful here when you're approaching the water. Sometimes the wind can just knock the canoe right off your shoulders. I've had times where it's been so bad that it threw me into a tree. Alright, so this looks like a good spot. Let's set her down. With the sun hanging so low in the sky, I decided it was best to stay on Little Otterslide tonight. I was already booked there for the following night, so this would give me tomorrow as a rest day, and for the first time on this trip, I would actually be back on schedule. So I quickly set up my hammock and had a quick dinner as the sun set. Unfortunately, I startled some large animal in the bush and just decided to skip having a campfire and go to sleep and hope that whatever I saw did the same. Thankfully, it left me alone.